Welcome back to part 3 and the final part of our conversation with Rose, Donna and Kristi in regard to the COVID vaccine. Now, Tony Fauci and other leading medical experts have talked about the fact that this vaccine is not, or they're not sure if it's going to stop the spread of the virus. They believe that what it will do is minimise the really severe effects that COVID is having on people. Was that a concern at all for you, Donna? Just because normally a vaccine is meant to stop the spread of whatever disease it was designed for.
I think I never expected it to stop the spread. I don't automatically assume that I am completely immune to COVID-19. I just wanted the vaccine to stop the severity of the effects of COVID-19. I don't want to be in hospital on a ventilator, being ventilated face down with somebody who I know caring for me. And so I'm under no illusions that I'm going to be completely immune, and it will not stop the spread because not everybody is going to have the vaccine. Not everybody's going to be able to have the vaccine. So that it's still going to be around and it's still going to be mutating. We're probably still going to have boosters. So I'm not under any illusion that I'm completely immune. Like some people said that, hey, you're not going to be immune. Why are you having it? So I'm not under those illusions.
And that leads me to the next question that I was going to ask. We have been told that we've been waiting for this vaccine so that we can return to some sort of normality, but at the same time, we are going to have to continue wearing masks. We are going to have to continue social distancing. So that's just par for the course for you.
Yeah. I mean, I work in an operating theatre anyway, so masks are like a second skin. And quite often I do tend to mouth words to people who I disagree with rather than speaking out. So masks are an advantage to me. People can't see my full face reaction to something.
Well, see, I have found that I walk past people and I smile and I think, why are they looking at me weirdly? And I realise they can't see that I'm smiling. I'm just staring at them like a complete weirdo. The masks aren't working for me. Kristi, so I'll put the same question to you. You obviously knew going into receiving the vaccine that it wouldn't necessarily stop the spread. They're not sure if it will stop you from giving the virus to somebody else or from contracting it. But was your thinking similar to Donna's, that it was just you were happy to just know that the symptoms wouldn't be as severe?
More of like I just wanted to do my part.
Sure.
And I just want to do my part as a nurse.
And the thought of continuing with masks and social distancing, that wasn't a red flag for you or a concern for you in the thought process?
I don't think I even went there. About not wearing masks. I mean, I thought, maybe down the road, if we, can get it under control, there'll be no more masks and we'll go back to normalcy. But who knows?
Sure. So one of the more controversial thoughts in regards to COVID and the vaccine is that there are a range of side effects that people are now talking about. And Kristi, you're obviously at the more severe end of all of this, but there are people that are talking about having a dead arm, feeling a little unwell for a day or two. But when we have people that are feeling unwell, like really unwell, not to the point that they need hospitalization, but feeling unwell enough that they need a full week off work, does the benefits still outweigh the risk as far as you're concerned with what you've seen in hospital, Donna?
Yeah, I think because you never know if you've had a vaccine and you still feel unwell, how would you have been if you hadn't had the vaccine? And yeah, maybe these younger, fitter people who are just having like flu-like symptoms with it, you know, maybe, yes, they can fight it off. And so many people have fought it off, which is great. But there are the severe cases where, you know, you've got underlying health problems or it's just going to get you. And, you know, you just don't know. It's like roulette, isn't it? You just don't know if it's going to get you and hit you severely or if you're just going to shrug it off like a cold. But one of the girls who I work with, we all had these antibody tests at one point, and she had antibodies. So she'd obviously had COVID-19. Not a thing. I think she said, I remember having a runny nose, but that's it. So she had COVID-19, but yet she was still coming to work. So, you know, she could have infected all of us. Luckily, she didn't infect me because I hadn't had it. I didn't have antibodies. But that's just how the COVID virus works its way around it, and so scarily quickly. It's just spread around the world.
So would you be comfortable if it became a yearly shot like the flu vaccine?
Yes, I would.
Now, Kristi, I haven't asked this question, but I am assuming, and I know we should never assume, that you are not taking the second shot.
No, ma'am.
And so I would have to assume then for you that that next question of it being a yearly shot would be a no for you.
Correct.
Now, changing gears again, in the US, at least, in 1986, Ronald Reagan put into law that pharmaceutical companies are no longer liable for injury or death caused by vaccines. And that came about after Pfizer admitted that they couldn't safely manufacture these vaccines. And if they were liable, they would essentially go bankrupt. So therefore, producing vaccines wasn't worth it. We have seen over time that risk versus benefit has certainly outweighed the risks, depending on which group you look to. With the COVID vaccine, it has in all countries been rolled out as an emergency use authorization. So questions in regards to a financial settlement, even if it's through the government schemes rather than the pharmaceutical companies, is either non-existent or incredibly limited because of the emergency use authorization and because we haven't gone through the standard testing that would normally take place over years. Has that been a concern or a thought for either of you, Donna or Kristi?
I suppose it can be, obviously it is a get-out clause for the pharmaceutical companies. And they cover themselves and the government cover themselves with the consent form that you sign. Nobody knows if they're going to have that reaction to a vaccine until they've had the vaccine.
Yes.
And it's one of those things. The amount of people that have died as a reaction to the vaccine, it's awfully sad, and I do feel for them. But with the amount of people that have been vaccinated, there's millions of people vaccinated, and in ratio, there's a lower number that have had these severe reactions. But obviously, like Kristi has had this reaction, and I don't blame her for saying no to the second vaccine and no to consecutive ones. If I had that reaction, yeah, I would be the same as well. But obviously, I've not had a reaction, so I'm all for it.
Sure.
But freedom of choice, that's what it's all about. And we shouldn't judge people. If they choose not to have it, they choose to sit back and wait and see what reactions around the world are, then we shouldn't judge them. But I'm happy to have it. And
sure.
That's that.
And I would put the same question to you, Kristi, in regard to the thought process behind the emergency use authorization. And in the US, it's called the PrEP Act. That is the act under which we've gotten this authorization. Was that a concern, or is that something that you will now look into, or is the focus just not even near that at the moment?
The focus right now is just getting me back to myself. I do think that for all the people that are having symptoms that have kept them out of work, I think they deserve something. As far as that goes, but I'm with Donna on this, where, it's a choice. I did make that choice. I was not mandated by my employer. I did make that choice. But I do feel that there should be some way to receive some type of assistance to help support those that are having reactions that are putting them out of work and are, I can't be left at home alone anymore. If my husband goes grocery shopping, my sister or my dad come and sit with me, because the fear of me having a seizure and getting hurt, or me having one of my attacks and getting hurt is too high, and it's too risky. So do I think that something should be done there? Yes. But I also understand that, like Donna, it's a freedom of choice. Sure. That's I chose the vaccine.
Sure. And so, Rose, I'll come to you. Are you in agreement with the other two women that this should be very much a choice for people rather than something that's mandated?
Absolutely. And I would, if I just, absolute respect to both of their views and their experiences.
I think, unfortunately, this is an issue that is so large, and I don't know that we're ever going to get all of the answers. But I would like to thank all of you for participating in this conversation, because it's not an easy conversation to have. And at The Informer, we have been watching the headlines, and they all tend to be on one end of the spectrum of this argument or the other. And we just wanted to show that there are so many different parts to this. Nothing is black or white. There are plenty of grey areas. And there's also no one size fits all solution to this, unfortunately. And we need to keep looking and finding the answers that work for a whole range of people, and hopefully we get a little bit closer. So Rose, Donna, Kristi, Nigel and Terry, thank you so much for all being a part of this. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on The Informer.